Severian, exiled for the sin of mercy, has arrived at his assigned post as Lictor in Thrax, the city of windowless rooms, and seems prepared to settle into the active, though somewhat grisly life of a government functionary. Unsettling things begin to happen, however. With this series, Wolfe has come into his own as one of the true masters of science fiction and fantasy by creating a fascinating and absorbing tale that combines the best and most exciting aspects of both kinds of story in a truly unique and original way. Sword of the Lictor is a 1981 novel by Wolfe and book 3 in Book of the New Sun. I have done reviews for the first 2 books, so if you don't want to be spoiled on where our characters are at, then I would either go watch those first or go and read the books and stop this now. So Severian is finally in Thrax, and he's there with Dorcas. This is in the Valley of Achis, and we learn about his job as guarding some 1,600 prisoners who are, well, they mostly are deserters, it seems like, from the army, with the war that's always been going on up in north, but they were seemingly imprisoned for some carnage they caused in battle. Now, the person who's imprisoned them is the Archon of Thrax. His name is Abdiesis, who is a character we get to know a little bit at the beginning of the story. Similar to the last book, we don't leave right off where we were at the end of The Claw of the Conciliator. This doesn't seem too much of a mystery, as Dorcas and Severian seem to have just traveled the rest of the way to Thrax after the events of the last book, though the events are not really explained, but I don't think at this point in the series, I don't think you're really expecting them to be, though we do get more explanations in this book. We do figure out more things, especially near the end, I feel like, and I'm sure we'll get even more in book 4. But again, the world is weird. It is very reminiscent of Jack Vance's Dying Earth because it's a Dying Earth setting, but also because of just the oddities in it. There seems to be some sort of structure holding society together, but it's often fragmentary, like it only covers a small area or portion of society. And we do see some executions carried out to satisfy the law throughout the series. It's kind of hard to tell what is exactly law, though apparently it all stems from the Autarch, of course. You learn more about the past of the Earth here as well. It's hard to tell what is true and what's not true, right? Especially since, for example, we do learn some about androids, which does remind Severian of Jonas. But again, you'll have to read it and you'll have to do thinking for yourself. There is also kind of a big surprise at the end of the story that deals with some characters we saw from the first 2 books, as well as just a group of people, the Caucasians, really, essentially. And I think you'll really enjoy this if you haven't read this one yet. Of the characters, of course, Dorcas is a treasure, while Severian is as confusing as ever, though he seems to be more along the lines of trying to do good in this one. He didn't do some stuff that I thought was very odd. He seems to be coming more into himself as trying to do the right thing, right? I mean, he got exiled for the sin of mercy, right? So mercy is a good thing, but in that case, I suppose it was taken as bad. But I mean, Severian is sometimes the good guy, but other times he seems to have no morals, right? So in this book, I think he's coming more into the good side, but I could be wrong in that. I could be reading way too much into that. Because he isn't exactly, he's not a hero, he's not going out and doing good. I mean, he does several things in this book still to save his own spine, but he's trying, it seems like. But anyways, it's hard to parse the reality between these books and what's really going on, like what's in his head, but also just how he's viewing things, how their society views things in general. And that's what makes these books fun, because they're just so fun to think on. You can sit there, and while I'm reading out my script, I'm still like, is that true? Because I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. And I would say, as far as interesting characters being introduced, we have some great ones again. I mean, the first 2 books were not bad for this, and so just to name a few, we have Syriaca, Kazdo, Typhon, Decuman, Piaton, Famulimus, and then some others, which I don't want to mention because I think you'll just have to read them yourself. But they're really intriguing additions to the tale, and I think really well done. And it's been several months since I read the first two books, and so it was really nice to be back in this world and to see these characters. And though I'm pretty sure it's probably recency bias, I would say this is my favorite of the three I've read so far. I'm hoping to get to Citadel Autarch soon. Now, of course, for those unaware, this is often compiled with Citadel Autarch and a book called Sword and Citadel. You do get a good amount of action in this book with the use of the Claw, the Conciliator, and Terminus Est, of course. And as the book title kind of suggests, we get some interesting developments with that. But we also get some interesting developments with the Conciliator. So, though his quest in this book seems to predominantly be to return the Claw to the Pelarians, of course, which is he's been wanting to do, but it goes in different directions. So we still have Dorcas, who's rather innocent and vaguely recalling some of her past, like Jonas in the last book. And Severian also has a new companion for part of this book. It's very interesting. I loved the duo, and in it, Severian takes the role of a protector. So again, the world is full of interesting characters. Many are often very dramatic as if on a stage. Other things are not really explained, and so are mysterious and fun to contemplate. The Odyssey of Severian continues, and it's a beautiful thing, but also sometimes creepy and disturbing and very fun. So, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. As if you're familiar with Wolfe, or as I'm getting more familiar with Wolfe, I realize he likes to put stories inside of stories. So we get a story here, for example, from the Brown book that is essentially the Jungle book, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, we do learn some more of the new sun and prophecies about this savior type person. And like I said before, some of the story developments are rather shocking. I know some people say that you can really just spoil the story because that's not the point of it, and I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like that maybe that's not the main point, but it is still an entertaining story, and I'm sure that's what Wolfe was doing, is trying to write an entertaining story, right? So I feel like looking at both is the way to go, just like people, right, had a tendency to look at Beowulf for its historical stuff and not enjoy it as poetry. So I think we need to do both here. Anyways, so this one definitely doesn't end so much on a cliffhanger like the first two. And honestly, from the halfway point to the end, it's just one crazy experience after the other. And this is probably my favorite part of the series as of right now, that halfway point to the end. It also was my brother's, who's already read these books, and a few other people I've talked to. So we'll see if I feel that after I read Citadel Autarch. But anyways, this has been Liam Liam's Lyceum. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. I'll catch you next time.